It is one of the most extraordinary transformations of our time. China. Just a generation ago, a poor and isolated land. Now it's home to the fastest growing economy in the world. A country long in the grip of communism is now devoted to private enterprise.
This is what we had to do for the ordinary people of China to become richer.
This new economic superpower is taking on the West.
So I think to have eBay as our rival is good for us, but it might be a disaster for eBay.
But China's surging economy has a dark side.
For counterfeiters, everything is about money and nothing else.
Frankly, I know my life isn't worth a penny to society.
Can China keep moving forward, or will the forces of change tear it apart? The city of Chongqing, a sprawling metropolis of 7 million people. It's the scene of one of the latest chapters in China's remarkable economic rise. Back in the 1980s, China's Communist Party decided to permit the return of private enterprise. In cities along the coast, thousands of new factories sprang up, fueling an economic boom. Now, China's trying to extend that boom to the interior of the country, to places like Chongqing. The government is pouring in money to improve and modernize the city. Chongqing today is a city on the move, a place where if you're smart enough and tough enough, you can get rich. Like the man who lives here, secluded high above the city. His name is Zhuo Zongshan. Zhuo is one of the richest men in China. He's a charter member of China's new business elite, a self-made man with a powerful will to succeed.
My family and I were ordinary people. In the eyes of Westerners, we would be considered very poor. When I had the opportunity, I cherished it and worked hard.
When China's leaders allowed the return of private enterprise, Zhuo was ready to make his move. His home is a monument to his success. Zhuo's palatial estate is tended by a private staff of more than 60. The interior of his sprawling mansion recalls the splendor of old Europe. On his manicured grounds, he keeps black swans and an assortment of animals. English thoroughbreds. And Zhuo's special passion, a collection of pedigreed dogs, housed in kennels kept immaculately clean. For most of the year, Zhuo lives here alone. His wife works for him in the United States, where she lives with their young son.
This way, I have more time to work, because I'm by myself and I have nothing to worry about. At night, I have a lot of time for work. I work on Sundays too. Work has become a habit for me. I guess that's just the way I am.
Down the hill is the company that made Zhuo Zongshan so rich. a company he named for himself, Zongshen Motorcycle Group. Zongshen is one of a large number of successful private companies started by Chinese entrepreneurs over the past 20 years. For now, most of Zongshen's motorcycles are sold in Asia, but Zuo has his sights set on expanding his market. And to reach that goal, he expects total dedication. For the kitchen workers, some motivation. Since its founding in 1992, Zongshen has grown from a small workshop into a company with more than 18,000 employees. One reason for the company's success is that factory wages in China are much lower than in Europe or North America. But that's not the only reason. The company goes to great lengths to promote a competitive spirit. Zuo demands the best from his workers, and the best from his managers, too.
你啥子理事哦？你啥子嘛你？你就去理1个月，你再研究1个月。他开头是说要把10内做拿来做，10内做完了还是不做。他又说要把10外做完了来做，10外做完了后，他说那个搞现在季节已经过了，要到下半年秋天才能摘了，还是不能做。我日的嘛，我听你们说。 我听你们说早都是的嘛，饿死了，真的听你们说。
But while private companies like Zongshen have been the driving force of China's economic surge, the country has not gone completely capitalist. Take the Chinese auto industry. The world's biggest private automakers have eagerly set up joint ventures with Chinese manufacturers. But China's biggest auto companies are still government-owned. In fact, state-owned enterprises still produce more than 1/3 of China's economic output. This curious mix of communism and capitalism has raised the standard of living for hundreds of millions of people. The most important holiday in the Chinese calendar is the Lunar New Year celebration. It's a time when people reflect on the year that's passed and hope for good fortune in the year to come. All over China, people go home to be with their families. Zongshen motorcycle employee Yang Shuibin is getting a ride home on a bus provided by the company.
It's the new year, and we're going back home to visit our families. It's once a year, and I'm very happy.
Yang and his wife, Liu Xiaoqin, are looking forward to something special in the new year.
My wife is 2 months pregnant. I'm really happy. I'm going to be a father soon.
Migrant workers like Yang are at the heart of China's astounding economic rise. Their story is a human drama of almost unimaginable scale. Since the 1980s, more than 100 million peasants have left the countryside and poured into the cities in search of work. It is the largest mass migration in human history. Uprooted from everything familiar, The migrant workers must adapt to a strange new world, not knowing if it will bring them comfort or pain. Yan Shui-bin and his wife Liu Shaoqin grew up here in the tiny village of Longtou. It was isolated for generations until this new road was finished just a few months ago. The Yang and Liu families have gathered together for a New Year's feast. Despite China's rise as a manufacturing power, rural families like the Yangs and Lius still comprise more than 700 million of China's 1.3 billion people. The kitchen is in the Yan family's old house. They just built a new one next door, paid for in part by the money Yan Shui-bin sends home from his job in the motorcycle factory. Many farmers are earning more than they did a generation ago. The state relaxed its tight controls over agriculture, and now farmers can grow and sell what they want. Reforms like these, along with the money sent home by migrant workers, have helped lift some 200 million people out of poverty over a span of just 25 years.
There have been really big changes these past few years. I'm happy. I feel very happy to see that my parents are okay. Mom and Dad are getting old, but we have to go out to work. My only regret is I can't be home every day to take care of them.
For the family of Yan Shui-bin, the new economy has brought a more comfortable life. But not everyone in the countryside is happy. Some farmers are still languishing in poverty, and even those who are doing better resent the fact that people in the cities earn so much more than they do. And in many places, farmers are being pushed off the land to make way for development schemes, stirring anger and even violent protests. This riot took place in Shengyou, a village in northern China. In recent years, there have been tens of thousands of rural protests all over the country. China's top leaders concede that if they can't reduce the tensions in the countryside, China's economic future is at risk. Shanghai. For the very first time, a Grand Prix motorcycle race is being held in China. The city has built a brand new Formula One racetrack. Motorcycle magnate Zhuo Zongchen is here to cheer on his company's racing team. Another millionaire is here too, Jack Ma, who's leading China's bid for supremacy in the digital age. Ma's company, Taobao.com, is the corporate sponsor of the race. Its logo is plastered everywhere. Taobao is an internet auction site. It's battling its arch rival, America's eBay, for dominance in China. which will soon have more internet users than any other country.
这玩意儿将来有一天可以取代那个新奇的东西。1年半以前我到
A year and a half ago, I went to Wall Street in New York, and I told them I just launched an auction site called Taobao to compete with eBay. All the people were shocked. They said, "Jack, you are crazy. You can find anybody to compete with, but don't compete with eBay because they are too strong." I was very angry at the time. Why did they think I would lose?
为什么一定认为我一定会输呢？
现在所有的状态都同步了吧？对，
你点进去看。
现在就是支付宝这边的状态了，已经。
我后来跟他们说
I told them that if eBay was strong, it was a shark in the ocean. But we are a crocodile in the Yangtze River. When the crocodile fights with a shark in the ocean, it will lose. But if the shark swims into the Yangtze River, it will have big trouble. So I think to have eBay as our rival is good for us. But it might be a disaster for eBay.
对他来讲也许是个灾难。
这样子，您看我能不能联系一下你们老板？因为你们老板可能对这块比较清楚一点，我们能不能联系一下他呢？
大概星期几？他一般什么时候在公司的？一早都在公司。
哎，那这个是没问题的，因为本身的话，阿里巴巴就是帮助您来找客户的。
Taobao isn't Jack Ma's only website. He also runs Alibaba.com, the largest internet operation in China.
你的客户只要你把那个网址，阿里巴巴给您一个诚信的企业网址吗？
Founded in 1999, Alibaba offered Chinese businesses instantaneous access to the global marketplace, a website where they could show their products to buyers all over the world.
您把您的价格放在上面，让您的客户知道您的产品一个规格。
Alibaba helps connect Chinese businesses with customers in more than 200 countries.
老爸，可能手机要重启一下。
我的手机要重启一下。
Ma has been fascinated with the West since his childhood in the city of Hangzhou.
刷新，看看能不能上网。
看见很多外国的游客到。
When I saw foreign tourists in Hangzhou, I would approach them and offer to show them around, if they would teach me English. For 9 years, I practiced English every morning and never stopped even for one day. So I absorbed a lot of Western thoughts when I was young.
Jack Ma grew up under a regime that condemned private enterprise. He's amazed at how dramatically his country has changed.
The Chinese media often use the sentence, "after the reform and opening up." The Western media doesn't understand the meaning of it, but we know what it means. We understand the profound changes that a country's political and economic reform can bring to its citizens.
The future for Jack Ma and all of China will in large part be decided here, in the capital city of Beijing. The government's planners and economists face a formidable challenge: how to make sure the white-hot Chinese economy keeps growing and doesn't crash.
In the past 25 years, China stuck with the one philosophy, which is gradualism. So as the great Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping said, we always cross the river by touch the stones. That means we move step by step.
This is Zhu Min. He's a top official of the state-run Bank of China.
So many people say China will go bankrupt. China collapse every day. On another end, people say China is great. China can grow forever. Of course, it's not guaranteed. No, it's no guarantee. The good news is, in the past 10, 20 years, I think everybody learned a great deal and learned how to reform, how to change. Nothing is guaranteed in the futures, but the past gives us confidence.
Not far from Beijing is the Great Wall of China, the longest man-made structure on Earth. Zhu comes here every couple of months to hike and to reflect.
It's not only the symbol of China, it's a piece of history. So you're sitting here, you know, you will see everything come up to you. It is a great place. I mean, you see this piece of Great Wall, it's built the whole thing 600 years ago. It's so beautiful, so nice. You see the quality of the work. Think about how many people work together, day by day, year by year, to build the whole thing. I think that's the whole essence for Chinese culture.
Today, China isn't building great walls, but it is still taking advantage of its huge population to accomplish remarkable things. This is the city of Yiwu. In the 1980s, it was just a small town. Today, because of a massive influx of migrant workers, it's a city of more than 1 million. Yiwu, situated near the Pacific coast, has used its supply of cheap labor to become a powerful player in the world economy. Here in Yiwu, hundreds of companies, big and small, that put the migrants to work, churning out goods of almost every description. Buyers from all over the world come to Yiwu's brand new commodities market to get the best deals on household merchandise.
Down through the chimney with good Saint Nick. That's me!
Cheap goods made in China are transforming the world economy. China's textile manufacturers, for example, are crushing their competitors. One of Yiwu's most prominent businesses is Langsha Knitting. It's the world's biggest manufacturer of socks, stockings, and pantyhose. Some 4,000 people work here, almost all of them migrants. This is Liu Yang. She's 20 years old and comes from one of the poorest provinces in China.
I'm from Anhui. My dad and mom still live back home. 2 days after I got here, my sister brought me to apply for this job. I like working here. Back home I had nothing to do, and my life was pretty boring.
Liu started working at Langsha when she was 17. She usually works a 12-hour shift, from 7 in the morning until 7 at night, turning out about 1,400 pairs of stockings a day. Liu earns about 60 cents an hour, enough for her to pay her living expenses, do a little shopping, and still send half her earnings home to her family.
When I first started, I wasn't used to this kind of work. It takes some time to adjust to all that standing. The truth is that I get tired from work. But if I take a rest, I'm okay. We get the weekends off.
For Liu and her fellow migrants, Langsha is the center of their lives. They live together in dormitories, 10 to a room.
看得顺眼一点的。天哪，怎么穿这种？看一下哪一个？没有一个顺眼的。不会吧？好像真的。这个也可以哦。没搞错那个。好看的啦。这个女的哦。全部是男的呀！你变态也什么？你跟这个呀？我要女的一样。清洗完头发后，擦上护发素。洗完再擦护发素，不会吧？让它停留一下。 停留一段时间。藏在你的天空，握住它的温柔。
Langsha not only houses and feeds its workers, it arranges entertainment for them too, like this karaoke competition.
好，谢谢李苗带给我们的东京歌声。接下来是11号选手丝袜包装郑春霞为我们带来《多情人把灵魂给了谁》。
悬崖上的爱，谁会敢去猜？还是愿意接受最痛的意外，最爱的女孩。谢谢，谢谢大家。
Cheap migrant labor has made China a world leader, not only in the making of clothes, but also toys, TVs, cell phones, and computers. Life in a Chinese factory may seem regimented and harsh. But for now, at least, for Liu Yong and millions like her, it's a better life than they knew back home in the countryside.
I'm saving money for my future. I want to make something of myself. I have my pride, too. When I save enough money, then I can study anything I want to.
All over China, young people are leaving the countryside to follow their dreams. But the new economy can be ruthless. Dreams can be easily shattered. Deep in the interior of China is the mountain village of Chuanxia. In this harsh terrain, people struggle to earn a living from the land.
Let me tell you something. When people from the city come here, they always talk about how beautiful the scenery is. But for the people who live here, we aren't looking for beautiful scenery.
Li Xiaoping is 23 years old. When he was 16, he left home. He traveled to Shenzhen, a big city in southern China, where he hoped to find a job.
Some of my fellow villagers led me to a toy factory that a Hong Kong company had opened. They were manufacturing toys for export. They were making stuffed pandas. I was hired to operate the stuffing machine. On my third day at work, the machine chopped my hand off. My right hand. In an instant, my bones were crushed to pieces. I almost fainted. After it happened, I went to the hospital. Our section chief said the cause of it was the way I was operating the machine, and it had nothing to do with them.
Li asked for compensation, but the company refused to pay. There are workers' compensation laws in China, but companies often find ways around them. Li was now disabled and penniless.
Before this all happened, before the accident, I was hoping to make more money and live a better life. But after it happened, I couldn't find any job because nobody wanted me. I only had one hand.
In desperation, Li turned to a man known all across China as a tenacious advocate for injured workers, a crusading lawyer named Zhou Li Tai.
This is all related to litigation for workers. Every day we use this board to show how many cases are on the docket and to remind the lawyers not to forget their cases. 95% of our cases are related to the protection of workers' rights.
被告在法庭以及仲裁过程中一再强调，造成本次事故是原告的违章行为所造成的。
A one-time factory worker himself, Zhou was so angered by the harsh treatment he received, he vowed to become a lawyer.
我一再强调，我声明的一点就是，周立泰所办理的。
People should realize that my thousands of cases reveal the real lives of the migrant workers. What's been happening to their bodies, how they've sacrificed with blood, what life is really like behind the skyscrapers of Shenzhen.
他们鲜血的代价。
Zhou Li Tai became famous for representing workers in Shenzhen whose limbs had been chopped off in local factories. His help went beyond the courtroom. He housed and fed many of the young men. But his activism earned him the wrath of local officials.
When I was handling lawsuits in Shenzhen, the local government sent policemen to follow me around. These officials think economic growth is the highest priority. They figured if they protect the bosses, they'll keep their jobs.
In 2001, Zhou Li Tai moved his headquarters to Chongqing. In the years since, he's won record settlements from many workers. But unfortunately for Li Zhouping, Zhou did not win his case.
In the end, I didn't get any compensation because I didn't have an ID card at the time of the accident. I had borrowed one from somebody else, so the judge ruled that I didn't qualify.
Zhou did help Li in a different way. He gave him a job. Zhou has trained many former clients to help him manage his growing caseload.
来吧，进来吧。 把资料给我看下，现在是个什么情况？现在，来给我看看吧。
你走路是因为那些个乘客咬个，在露天把鞋遭殃嘛。
While working for a local decorating company, Yang Tianjiang was injured when a load of glass fell on his foot. He's now destitute and can't afford crutches.
你把脚托开。
Yang has already been to court seeking compensation, but the judge ruled against him.
你脚主要是哪里的问题啊？
那落下来，颈骨那个震断大，上头的给破人员的颈骨，他接的是那一头啊，接了嫩长两头，总结本来现在的血的。
你现在在哪里生活？在哪里住啊？
在我的路边把鞋要饭，哪儿黑的哪儿洗，其实都是一个老母亲。
你和你母亲呐、妈妈都在街上要饭。
哎，要饭。
但是在法律上，你想拦车是不对的。我是个律师，你请我必须按照法律办。
啊，谢谢。
听懂我的意思不？
有奖励嘛，把我乘客咬着说没有办法。老板是八方那小集团，拿钱到处捅关系，劳动局派出所。
这个嘛，打官司过程中有非法律因素以外的原因，这都很正常。你要正确的对待这个事，也不能采取拦车来解决这个问题，好不好？要得，今天我们谈到这里哈。
谢谢一下，
要得。好，慢一点哈。慢一点哈。
要得。
中国20多年来，从各个地方。
Over the past 20 years, China has been transformed from a country of extreme poverty to a developing country. This hasn't been easy. But we can't sacrifice laws, people's bodies, and lives just so we can develop the economy. This is not the kind of country that we really want.
Some have been hurt by the coming of private enterprise. But for others, the freedom to start a business has opened up a whole new chapter in their lives. Xiang Jian is one of the founders and owners of this piano school in Chongqing.
轻点，感觉出来。1、2，强出来。
A 41-year-old divorcee, Xiang Jian spent years working for a state-owned coal company. When she got the chance to start her own business, she grabbed it.
When I started my piano school, I was interested in pursuing art and making money. The school is a way to do both. I can balance my passion for art education with my financial goals.
Xiang Jian is financially well off. She has another job as a sales manager at an air conditioning company. But she also is the mother of a 15-year-old son, and like so many women in the new China, is struggling to find the right balance in her life.
Women play many roles in our society, as a mother, a daughter, or a wife. But first, I have to figure out what on earth do I want for my life. Our generation, we have been puzzling over this. That's what we've been thinking about.
In another part of Chongqing, Dr. Xu Feng is fulfilling her own entrepreneurial ambitions. She is the owner of this community health center. The center is the first privately owned facility of its kind in Chongqing.
20 years ago, when I finished college, the government assigned me to work in the hospital. I had to work there. The major difference is that now I have a choice. I can choose my own lifestyle. I can choose my own work. I can choose my own career. That's how I feel about it.
在哪个幼儿园了？华信医院啊。
华信幼儿园。
哦，华信幼儿园在哪儿呢？
都在广州。
哦，在广州读书啊？没在重庆吗？
没。
But the health center isn't Dr. Xu's only business venture.
在重庆还在读幼儿园吗？
仍然用掌声欢迎我们重庆康曼女子俱乐部的许凤总经理为大家致欢迎词。 非常高兴，因为在这里跟我们的新老朋友，在今天这个夏季的。
This is the Kangmei Women's Club. Dr. Xu is the owner.
在座的各位朋友，下午好，谢谢。
The club is a place where Dr. Xu and her staff teach Chongqing's newly affluent women how to enhance their beauty and their health.
我是觉得我有这个责任。
I feel I have the responsibility to guide these women. It boosts their self-confidence.
那么我们的安斯斯还为客户提供了大家心爱的棉华大地织布，这种布料。
This fashion show is a promotion for the German company Escada. It's just one of the many club offerings that are attracting new members. Women like Xiang Jian.
还有那个通过一些。
Events like the fashion show are a great way for women to spend time with each other, talk with each other, and exchange ideas. It helps each woman find her inner self. This is a good way to live.
Xiang Jian and Xu Feng are heading for Chongqing's new Escada store, where dresses sell for as much as $1,000 US.
不，我是刚好今天你们那个推荐我一试，那套衣服刚好确实适合我。哎，因为可能我可能也不胖也不瘦哈。
你不胖，你保持得很好的，保持得挺好的。
这套我觉得啊，10年前如果来讲的话，我想。
If you go back 10 years, I couldn't afford this brand of clothing. I didn't own a car. I didn't own an apartment. Now I have all these things. That's the biggest change in my life.
有你们的卡，有太平洋的卡，有那个新世纪的卡。哎，有时候我也不知道你看哪个。
3000可以吗？
可以。发现那个是不够正，这样子加起来也可以。
没关系。
Xiang Zhen's new life as a businesswoman brings her more money, but also more stress. The health spa at the women's club is her favorite place to unwind.
现在的宝贝儿多大
？15岁了，要满16了。
看不出来，
看不出来啊。
Xiang Zhen's deepest wish is that someday she will be married again.
选择爱情的话，我想我会。
If I had a second chance with love, I would be more mature.
说不定哪天白马王子就敲。
Maybe one day my white knight will come.
我想的话，我的愿望是。
My wish is to have a good life and the peace of mind to pursue my career.
事业的那种平和的心态。
In Chongqing and other cities all over China, people aren't just making more money, they're spending it. With its hundreds of millions of shoppers, China is becoming the biggest consumer economy in the world. But the gleaming new stores selling name brand goods don't tell the whole story. The Chinese economy, in some ways, is like the old American West, an untamed frontier where outlaws run wild. Some of the most notorious crooks are the makers of counterfeit goods, people who sell cheap imitations and worthless fakes. This man is determined to stop them. He's a private investigator named Liu Dianlin, a man known to his friends and foes as Smiling Wolf.
A journalist gave me the name Smiling Wolf while I was working on a counterfeiting case. They said I cracked down on counterfeits with a smile, so they called me Smiling Wolf. These days, everyone calls me Smiling Wolf, so I registered the name as a brand name and I use it for the company.
Liu gets hired by companies who are losing market share to cheap knockoffs of their products. This raid targeted a fake toothpaste operation in Guangdong province.
When we arrived at the site, we saw a truck moving out goods. We put the truck under our control immediately. The driver tried to escape, so I chased him. We found 2 operations, one here, one over there. They had a lot of people working there. The people working for the counterfeiters realized we were there, and many of them ran away through the back door, as you see here. Behind the place there was a river. Some of them were blocked by the river, and they couldn't get away.
Liu has busted up operations that made fake computer drives, fake Marlboro cigarettes, fake birth control pills, and fake antibiotics.
In the beginning, I started to do this because I could make money at it. But as time went by, a lot of companies and consumers came to ask for my help in cracking down on fake goods. I felt I had a responsibility to help them.
Counterfeiting is a huge business in China. It's estimated to cost Western companies tens of billions of dollars in lost sales every year. But inside China, fake products can be a matter of life and death. In Anhui province, counterfeiters sold fake milk powder to unsuspecting parents. Their babies got no nutrition. More than a dozen babies died.
For counterfeiters, everything is about money and nothing else. This is the cruel reality posed to our government, the companies, and all the Chinese people.
The counterfeiters are so desperate to stop Smiling Wolf, they put a price on his head.
Every day, I turn around dozens of times to see if anyone is stalking me. So cracking down on counterfeits is a hard job. It's a life and death fight between the criminals and me.
This man sees himself as a crusader too, armed not with a knife, but with forward-looking ideas. He's a multi-millionaire industrialist named Zhang Yue. He is the founder and chief executive of Broad Air Conditioning in the city of Changsha in central China. Zhang Yue has made environmental protection one of his company's top priorities. Broad makes central air conditioning systems that use an innovative technology that requires little electricity and uses coolants that don't harm the environment. Zhang Yue believes pollution is a serious threat to China's economic future. In their rush to make profits, companies have badly polluted China's water and air.
For now, all forms of pollution are closely related to what companies do. If a company wants to help solve the problem, it should start in its own backyard.
这个社会就很干净了。关班多少？多少？关班100%了。关班的收集率达到100%吗？
Zhang Yue is passionate about the potential of solar energy and other modern technologies. But he also believes in the power of the great ideas of the past. To inspire his employees, he has constructed a scale model of an Egyptian pyramid and built a management training center that's a copy of the Palace of Versailles. Statues of his intellectual heroes dot the sprawling corporate campus. Adam Smith, Martin Luther King Jr., Thomas Edison, James Watt, and the Wright brothers. Broad's air conditioning systems are used all over the world, but selling them hasn't always been easy.
We chose this narrow road. The road is very hard. First of all, the equipment is expensive, and it's hard to convince customers to go this way. But our values make us determined not to produce products that pollute the air.
Even the company cafeteria reflects Zhang Yue's environmental concerns. Because so much of China's farmland is now polluted, he started his own organic farm to produce healthy food for himself and his workers.
We live to enjoy life, but if we are not healthy, how can we? If we see the economy is growing rapidly, but our health is getting worse, especially if our land, our water, and our climate are getting worse, then what's the meaning of our economic growth? It's meaningless.
Since the 1980s, China's economy has been enjoying the biggest and longest boom in modern history. But the troubles spawned by that boom have also been rising. No one can be sure of what will happen in the years to come, but for now, China is a land of hope. Internet mogul Jack Ma is attending an employee's wedding.
"20 years ago, I bragged that if I were prime minister one day, I would have done this and that. Now, I understand it's hard to get things done. It's difficult to manage a country with 1.3 billion people." I was born and raised in China. I had my education in China. I am 100% made in China. But I can't say that I understand it, because China is changing every day. I'm growing with it.
My dream is to become a doctor. Parents are supposed to take care of their children and make sure they are safe. If anything bad happens to their children, they can always count on a doctor to help them. One day, if I ever get the chance, I'd like to open up my own doctor's office.
Now, my son is almost 3 years old. No matter what, we want to find a way for him to get some education when he's older. I don't want him to have to leave and go off to work somewhere else. I have high hopes for my son, but you never know how things will turn out in the future.